This is an overview of the State of Illinois Early Intervention Program and Occupational Therapy.
You have to be an Illinois state resident under the age of 3 with a 30% delay in any area of development.
There are many services available through early intervention, including occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, developmental therapy, social work, interpretation services, medical diagnostic services, and each case has a dedicated service coordinator that does the job of making sure all kids receive the services and evaluations that are needed.
In my practice, I see a really wide mix of diagnoses. I see a lot of premature babies and the complications that come from being born early. I also have a really soft spot for children with autism, a lot of sensory needs, as well as CP, hemiplegia, Down syndrome,
palsy, infantile spasms, history of prematurity and developmental delays.
When we think about occupational therapy, we're looking at the person, the environment that they live in, and their occupation. And a child is living in this home with all these people coming in and out of it. In early intervention, we really get enmeshed in that family unit.
I think one of the great things about early intervention is that you can see kids in the natural environment and really help families work through their daily routines.
Practicing in the home in early intervention is that we really have to do a juggling act sometimes, in that it's a very educational coaching model of therapy in early intervention, but yet some of our kids have real medical diagnoses and we're billing health insurance companies for that. So sometimes it can be a challenge to how to bridge that gap between the medical model and a more coaching model of therapy, and how do we make both systems happy?
Probably service delays. So I think you see families that have more resources to begin with, or families that live in nicer neighborhoods, families that it's maybe in general easier to get services. It's the same, I guess, for EI, and then you have families that maybe live in neighborhoods that people don't necessarily want to go to, or families that are struggling with finances or family issues, or kind of all of the above. I think they really are sometimes limited in either the services they get, or they wait a long time for services.
So it gets paid depending on the family's insurance. If they have private insurance, then therapy bills their insurance, and if it does not cover for any reason, then the family pays a family fee, which is based on a sliding scale of their family size and their income from this scale right here.
Let's take a look here at the family fee scale that's available through early intervention. As Chrissy noted, it is based off of family size and the annual income. It is important to note that it is not based off of the number of services the child is receiving, and instead is simply based off the family size. It is also important to note that if multiple children are in the early intervention system with their program, there is still only one family fee that the family will be paying. The maximum family fee to any family involved in the early intervention system is $200 per month in the program.
Right here. And then if families do not have a private insurance and they have the all kids Medicaid insurance, then therapy would get billed to that.
We often have to think about our payer source, and unfortunately we have to make sure that we're documenting it in such a way that the payer source is going to reimburse, but that we're also being cognizant of what this program's goals are.
In a survey of 18 early intervention occupational therapists, at least 72% indicated that they were somewhat impacted by the budget impasse. The lack of state budget has impacted therapists in a number of ways. Some occupational therapists have indicated the impact as things such as decreasing the number of cases they are allowed to have on their caseload, lack of salary, and some therapists at this point have already left early intervention.
The Illinois budget crisis it sets a tone of unease, I think, in the early intervention world as a whole. In the years that I've been in early intervention, years that the budget didn't pass for a few months at a time, but this is by far the longest it's ever gone. So sometimes we have gotten used to going 3 months without getting paid, but that's probably the longest I've ever gone. Right now, even though we are getting paid, I just got paid for February services and it's May.
It has, I think, affected me and probably most providers in the area of payment. Payments are delayed around 12 weeks, and it makes it really hard sometimes to continue to work. I think there's been times where I've thought I have to leave the early intervention program just because I need something a little bit more financially stable, and that's probably the biggest complaint that I've heard from any provider.
I think it's likewise stressful for families. I have had families that sort of providers have just dropped off their case because they're not getting paid for services, so they stop seeing a family. I personally struggle with the ethical side of that, in that I become invested in a family, so it's really hard for me to deny them services because they don't have private health insurance. So I think that, again, it just sets a tone for families of, they're already unfortunate enough that they don't have health insurance and they can't afford health insurance. And then also to put this additional barrier on it that providers may stop coming to their home, I think makes it very stressful for them.
I think the biggest way that the budget impacts families is that, one, there's less providers, and it just makes the wait times longer. And I think it's been pretty consistent EI in that occupational therapy wait times have always been long, especially in the neighborhoods that are underserved. So I think the budget impasse just really, unfortunately, continues that whole cycle.
But what I do know is that there is set in maybe a rule or a law of kind of an emergency funding of services that have to continue to be funded. And I think that includes like police departments, possibly. Maybe check on that. So originally we were not getting paid with the budget. And we had a huge coalition of families and therapists who were going on news media talking about their children and who weren't getting services, putting a face to people who were being underserved and weren't getting services. And all I know is somehow someone realized that we were supposed to be in this emergency funding and getting paid. So I don't ask any more questions.
Due to early intervention being a Medicaid reimbursable service, consent decrees established in Mimosovsky v. Miriam and Beeks v. Bradley are assuring that the state of Illinois continue to pay for these services despite the lack of budget. And so therapists continue to receive these notifications like this one, indicating that they were able to secure funds for additional dates of service, backdating all the way to February in this specific example.
I absolutely love my job. I would choose it again 1,000 times. I love working with kids. I love working with their families. I fall in love with every kid I see, and I really love being in their homes.